When science and the supernatural combine, bad things happen, and Gil finds that out the hard way. You can hear all about it in our review of Humbaba number 2 from Blood Moon Comics. See you in 3. And welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of Humbaba number 2 from Blood Moon Comics. And in this issue, Gil is resurrected and given a crash course on the history of the Refuge to stop the annihilation that's coming. But before we get started, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notification, leave a comment, let us know how we're doing. Your attention is greatly appreciated, and make sure you stay tuned to the end for the final score. Let's talk about the credits. Humbaba number 2 is written, drawn, colored, lettered, cover art, and everything else in between by Ricky Sykes. And that's commendable. We like to encourage one-man bands or one-woman bands if you prefer, and by all accounts, and we'll get to it in a minute, Ricky Sykes did a fantastic job. Before we talk about what happened in this issue, we'll talk about what happened in the previous issue. So you have this hunter named Gil. He's out to get a legendary deer in the swamps surrounding the area known as the Refuge. While he's at a bar, getting a little refreshment, he meets an old woman who kind of comes across as this sort of old crony witch. And she says, I've got the perfect bait that's going to bring that legendary buck out. And if you want to catch him, put this feed out. And it's called, right, wrong, or indifferent, it's called witch corn, which should have been a tip. Gil should have gotten the hint, but he takes it anyway. It's called witch corn. And it looks like corn, but it's kind of funky looking. He puts it out. The deer comes along, eats the witch corn, and it mutates and transforms and transmorgifies into this sort of bestial monster that's a combination of deer and tapeworms and bugs and just the creatures of the muck and the mire of the swamp. And it starts killing people. It goes on a rampage. Gil recognizes, what the heck? What happened here? I can't let this thing get loose because it's starting to kill people. He goes after it and gives it everything he's got. But at the very end, Gil gets pummeled by the monster, henceforth known as Humbaba. And you think that, well, that's the end. But not quite, because this sort of weird robotic character shows up out of the blue, picks Gil up, and trudges off through the swamp with Gil's dead body. That's the weirdest way to end an issue, but there we are. Now, where we pick up with Humbaba number 2? We enter where the robot takes Gil's body into this strange underground laboratory with this strange underground set of apparatuses and equipments, and there's a mad scientist character there, and they put Gil back together and bring him back to life, Frankenstein style. Gil wakes up, he's like, what am I? Where am I? What's going on with my body? He doesn't stop to think. He doesn't question. He doesn't do anything, but he says, Humbaba's out there and he's killing people. I've got to warn somebody. And he dashes off, not taking stock of the fact that now he's in this sort of enhanced body, in this sort of cybernetic body that's a mixture of his own parts and robotic parts and a bunch of other things. He gets back to the watering hole where he met the witch, and she says, sit right down, Sonny, and I'm going to tell you a story. And she tells him that the Refuge is a place of supernatural magic, but it's also a place where that supernatural magic has positive, expansive effects on science. And she was part of a scientific research team that did all kinds of miraculous things, some of which were beneficial to mankind, some of which were grotesque and done for the sake of doing it. And so they created monsters as well as medicines. But one day, the government, or the people who oversee the funding and the oversight of the Refuge, hit the big red button and flooded the entire area, which is a part of the local legend that the area was once flooded, not realizing that the flood was meant to wipe out the scientific experiments and the all the unholy things that were happening with the scientists that were there, including the old woman. But since that time, a lot of the monsters and the beasts and the weird mutated things that they had created now got loose after the flood, and they began to breed and interbreed and mutate and evolve and become all the different monsters that you can think of. And so now Gil's recognizing that this old lady, who may or may not be crazy, is talking about how Humbaba and everything that is all those strange monsters that have been cited over the years as part of local legends were real. And so he takes off, and before you know it, he's accosted by 3 characters who are like these strange individuals that look like they're human mostly, but maybe a little bit not quite so human, especially since one of them looks like a large walking, talking, human sentient hybrid turtle thing. And they try to capture Gil, but his body just reacts instinctively. He winds up splatting and destroying at least two of the three characters before he's left in the cliffhanger to face the third, a gentleman by the name of Billy Rubin, who doesn't look quite human himself. And that's where we begin the issue. I know we're giving you spilling all the beans, but there's a lot to go into, and it makes a lot of sense in a strange, roundabout, weird, sort of Cajun sci-fi supernatural story kind of way. Strange, but true, but not. Who knows? Anyway, what do we like about Humbaba number 2? Weird concept, very weird concept, but very creative, very imaginative, and therefore, subsequently, very entertaining. This is just a weird sci-fi horror story, and I won't say it makes sense, but it feels like it makes sense, if that makes any sense at all. Maybe not. I don't know. The pacing is great. The story development, the way the scenes unfold, and the way Ricky Sykes constructs the story is fantastic. The core concept is super imaginative, and the revelations that come out of this particular issue really kind of draw you into the world that Sykes has created. I mean, you're not going to suspend too much disbelief in the story because it is very wild and weird in a wonderful sort of way and out there. But you're drawn into the world, and you can believe that it's happening the way it's happening, and everything that Gil is going through. And you definitely want to know what happens next. What kind of powers does Gil have now that he's in this body, but maybe he hadn't stopped long enough to think about it? What is the refuge all about, and what kind of monsters? What is the big idea? What is the big plan? You're drawn in, and it's exactly what a comic of this sort should do. On the flip side, what didn't we like about Humbaba number 2? Not a whole lot. I mean, little nitpicky things like, for example, Gil doesn't stop to think, why am I in this body? How did I come back from the dead? Why am I in this body? Just at least take a moment to pause and consider, how does he not realize that he's not human anymore? And then when he's encountering these individuals that are these three sort of mutant individuals that attack him when he leaves the bar after talking to the old woman, why does he just like try and run away? Or why doesn't he question the old woman some more to try and find out what did she want? What are they trying to accomplish? Natural curiosity questions Gil doesn't ask. It's not a big deal because the story is moving so fast, and you're drawn along with it, and so you really don't have time to stop and reconsider every point. But some of those little nitpicky things kind of would have you pause a little bit. Concerning the art, what do we think of the art? It's very stylistic. Ricky Sykes has his own style. It has a very underground kind of style, but it looks interesting. It looks great. It's very I would say oil paintery if you want to think about how does it look. The brushstrokes and the character designs have a sort of an underground caricature feel, but combined with the colors, it really makes it pop and really makes it stand out. So visually speaking, it's very interesting. It's not what you would expect from the big two, but that's not what this comic is. It suits the story well. It really gives you a sort of gritty, grimy, mutant kind of feel, if that makes sense. And I think it's a perfect fit. Final thoughts. What do we think about Humbaba number 2? Super imaginative, good technical execution on the script as far as dialogue, pacing, and what have you, and lots of anticipation and momentum towards wanting to know what comes next, which is always what you want coming out of a story as much as you have going into the next one. On the downside, there's some little motivation questions or curiosity questions you would have expected somebody in Gil's position to ask, but that he didn't. So it feels like, maybe he's taking a pause there, but minor nitpicks overall. Therefore, we're going to give Humbaba number 2 from Blood Moon Comics a solid 8.8 out of 10. Hope you enjoyed this review, and let us know what you think. Do you like weird sort of sci-fi horror mashup type stories? Do you like kind of that underground style of art, which you can see in some of the preview pages? Want to hear your comments? Let us know down below. And otherwise, thank you for joining. Please stay tuned for the outro if you like more reviews just like this one.